The social contract is the basic principle that individuals and governments have certain rights and responsibilities to one another. In a nutshell, people pay taxes, and the government gives us schools, roads, hospitals, and the fire department. That sounds like a fair deal, but when was the last time we updated the contract? When was the last time we asked fundamental questions about how our society is run and what changes we should make? Who goes to jail and why? What do we learn in school and why? What does the military do and why? We, or at least I, have a tendency to think about the topic or the scandal of the day and not the underlying issues that create them in the first place. Hopefully, through this conversation, we can attempt to answer some of those fundamental questions and redraw the social contract.
Mike, I guess my next question is there a movement, because I'm sure you know about the unionization movement that's taking place in Mississippi with the Amazon workers. Is there a movement towards unionization or worker safety in Congo? You know what I mean? Because when you talk about the one thing that this gentleman you talked about, he has control of the banks and he's got
Dan Gettler.
Dan Gettler, got the politicians in his pocket and this and this and this, but it's not as if he can control the 1,000 or 5,000 or 10,000 individual miners that are working for $4 a day. So as I'm asking this question, I almost know where it's going to end. What were to happen if the workers were to organize and demand better working conditions?
They'd get shot.
They just yeah, right. As I asked that question, I was like, "Come on, Charles."
It's a sad reality, of course,
Right.
and I'm not trying to dismiss that. Of course, I'm sure there's a strong union movement or the idea of unions, but they never took hold on the continent. With the other places, maybe like South Africa, again, the southern parts of Africa, unions, and of course some of the northern African countries as well, the ideas of unions really took hold. In places like Congo, it never took hold primarily because of the way we had Mobutu in power for almost 60 years, right?
Yeah.
From 1965 all the way to 1998. So he's in power for a very long time. And he never allowed any other political affiliation other than to his political party, the MPR.
Mm-hmm.
So the ideas of like unionizing were not even allowed. Like you were to try and create a political movement against the political power at that time was basically you were asking for your death sentence. So when he gets out of power, you create this power vacuum of people who want to emulate Mobutu as he had led, like he was an authoritarian. So you create all these like little minions who want to be just as authoritarian as him, because that was the leadership that was left in the country. And so anyone who was trying to create any kind of social movement in general it's basically you're signing your death sentence. Now there is a group of young people called La Lucha, right? They again very connected to, it's very Spanish. They're very connected to a lot of the social movements in South America, and it'd be a great conversation to talk about the synergy between Cuba and Africa. There's a whole history to that, especially with Congo. But anyways, there's a group called La Lucha, which is a group of young Congolese people who have been trying to talk about, to irritate the political structure in the Congo per se. Now they don't have I wouldn't say they have like a big following outside of the country, but within the country there is sort of like a group of young people who are politically aware, socially aware, and they're trying to sort of create a grassroots movement to move the country forward. But some of them end up meeting their death, right? My cousin dated one of the leaders of La Lucha in Goma in the east of Congo. Sadly, the guy was burned to death.
Wow.
In his house.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and to this day, there's no investigation. But the reason why is because he was challenging corruption in the city, money that was intended to go to people, and he was, of course, rallying students and people to
Right.
try and, of course, just for basic necessities, and he was
Yeah.
burnt in his house alive.
There was, and this is, I'm almost like when you said that, like it reminded me of a story I was watching. I think it was in Bloomberg News, and pretty much a copy and paste of what you just said. But instead of Congo, it was Guatemala, and it's exactly what you think it is. A big multinational corporation. Sorry, just 1 second. Sorry. Yeah, a big multinational corporation comes into town, wants to do mining, and in order, oh yeah, they wanted to build a dam, and in order to do that, they were going to destroy the natural waterway of a particular area in Guatemala, which was going to cause destruction for thousands of people. So, one of the people who lived there organized and fought and, and protested the government and protested the corporation. And exactly what you think is going to happen, she was killed. One day in the middle of the night, unnamed, masked gunmen just came into her home and shot her. And the investigation was a joke, and they only arrested the low-level people. And it's what I like, the story you just described and the story I'm just describing. It's almost like, I don't want to say like it's old news, but it's almost like a playbook.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? There's the big evil corporation, then the little guy stands up to the corporation, and then the corporation hires masked thugs to go kill that person in the middle of the night. Like, how many times are we talking Cuba? Are we talking Angola? Are we talking Bolivia? Are we talking? It's the same playbook, and you know, and but I guess, and this is definitely a question that comes out of naivete, but like, still, you know what I mean? Like 2021, like we're still just executing labor leaders. Like that's just like it almost like when I think about like child marriage or whatever, like something that belongs to the history books.
Mhm.
This is something that I would say like this is not a practice that should take place in the 21st century, where someone says, "Hey, we want better labor rights," and then that person ends up dead 24 hours later in oftentimes very, very gruesome circumstances, to say to the next guy, "Don't even try."
Yeah.
And
Imagine creating a system in the world
Mhm.
where somebody's asking just for the bare minimum. I just want labor
Right.
protection. I want to
Mhm.
have fair wages, and I want to be
Mhm.
compensated for my labor. And just for barely asking that question, you're killed.
Right.
Like,
Right.
to me,
That's
and we don't even bat an eye. It's not
no,
even, it's not
no,
mentioned. No one talks about it. It's just as if, oh,
nothing.
well, yeah, that guy was crazy. Why was he protesting? He should be
That's
working.
how we.
That's
Yeah.
usually the answer,
Yeah.
especially from the conservative side, is why was he protesting? He should have been working. So
Mhm.
I shouldn't ask I shouldn't ask for fair wages. I shouldn't ask for healthcare,
Yeah.
especially in a country like the Congo on the global south, where you're barely surviving. You're
Mhm.
barely surviving, and you're seeing Western countries. Again, this is where, for me, it becomes a very personal thing. And of course, I'm also complicit because I live here. But you see the death and decay of a country that's so wealthy like Congo, and it does not enjoy the fruit of its own
Mhm.
nation because
Mhm.
people are pillaging that country, and they don't want the country to even demand or ask for them to be compensated for it.
Mhm.
Like, it makes
That's
me so angry because I see how many people enjoy, like, I have a cell phone and I have a laptop and I enjoy it. I have a microphone, etc. These are products that Congolese people should be having. Like, they should be a very technologically advanced nation because
Mhm.
of what they have. Yet why is
Yeah.
it that they're still, to this very day, as you've just said, somebody's burnt in his own house for barely asking, like, we should be compensated for this country's riches.
Yeah.
Like, that's all he was asking for, and he
Yeah.
was killed for that.
Yeah. And yeah, and it's such an egregious and violent crime, and it's so unjustified. You know what I mean? It's when you think about conflict or this, like it'd be one thing if I had a gun and you had a gun and we were shooting at each other, and one of us got shot. Like, all right, well that's unfortunate, but that's how it goes. But imagine if you're just like, hey, can we have bathroom breaks? Hey, can we get a profit sharing? You know what I mean? Like, can we have proper hazmat suits and because if you're doing mining, you need, you know what I mean, with the masks, the gloves, or whatever. Like, it's very frustrating because I was watching a piece about how the most at the forefront of autonomous driving technology is not actually with Tesla. It's in the mining industry for reasons exactly like this. Because once you're 100 meters, 200 meters, 500 meters below ground, obviously the air you're breathing, and there could be a collapse, there could be this, there could be that. So many environmental concerns. So what a lot of companies have been doing is they're using autonomous driving technology for those big mining trucks that go underground and pick stuff up. And I think it was, I want to say, yeah, it was Caterpillar. Yeah, they're the company that was making that technology. And the guy was so proud. He's like, oh, I wish if we had this technology when my grandfather was alive. I'm thinking about all the coal miners who had black lung. Think about all of the Chilean miners where everything caved in on them. Like, if it was an autonomous driving robot, that never would have happened. And he was, and I was like, wow, like that's actually a really, it's a value added for the world. It's making things safer. It's making things more efficient. And I was like, okay, that's blessed. But it's like in North America, in Europe, in places where the governments will actually enforce those labor standards. You know what I mean? They don't have autonomous driving robots in the DRC. I don't think so. You know what I mean? And it really makes me frustrated because they're not asking for anything crazy. You know what I mean? Like, imagine, like, if for Jesus Christ, you burn this guy's house down, you kill the man. You know what I mean? Like, he must have done something to get you really upset. He must have really done something to piss you off. No, he just asked for labor rights. No, he just asked for safety conditions. And I don't know. I really don't. I certainly don't have an answer for that.
Yeah,
but it's something that gives me a lot of frustration. That's for sure.
Right.